A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians. Brothers and sisters, we were gentle among you as a nursing mother cares for her children. With such affection for you, we were determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our very selves as well. So dearly beloved had you become to us. You recall, brothers and sisters, our toil and drudgery, working night and day in order not to burden any of you. We proclaim to you the gospel of God. And for this reason, we too give thanks to God unceasingly, that in receiving the word of God from hearing us, you received not a human word, but as it truly is, the Word of God, which is now at work in you who believe. The Word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
There is probably nothing that gives greater joy to a parent than to witness their child or their children become good, upstanding people. To know of the countless sort of burdensome hours spent nurturing that child or their children. To know that the love that they poured out bore fruit. Despite the countless tantrums, despite the disobedience, the parents were faithful to their children. And to know that finally that the love and the time that they spent helping that child or helping their children, that love ultimately bore fruit in their hearts. What could give that parent greater joy than to know that the love that they've shown was born in their hearts? And St. Paul is experiencing a very similar joy. We hear Paul is basically has lived and worked with the people of Thessalonica, preaching the gospel, but he does it in a very special way. He does it with love. A love that is gentle, a love that is patient, a love that is kind. A love that desires that each of them will know God. Because, my friends, ultimately, the work of love gives voice to the true word that penetrates our hearts and impregnates our own soul with that very word. That our own souls are so enwrapped in that love that we come to know the love of God deep in our own hearts. That it's not just about what is said, but how it's communicated. Without a breath, we can say all the words we want, but if we can't speak, our words are in vain. But our love, with the gospel, in tandem with the gospel, gives that word life. Whether one is married, single, or in religious life, when we as people love one another, not for whatever accomplishments someone has done, but simply that they're worthy of love as another human being, all the while modeling the gospel. And when we do that, we allow that word of love, the word of the gospel, to penetrate and take root in other people's lives. And all the while, too, while we preach, while we share that love, we too are changed. Our soul is made all the more lovely. We too grow closer to God. And when we see that word blossom in others' souls, when we see it take root and transform their lives, when we see it and take root and transform our lives, we can say, it is not I who live, but Christ who lives in me. When we see it in those who we've ministered to, we can say that Christ is truly living in them. And what response can there be other than joy and gratitude, other than joy and thanksgiving? And it's not something that we are thankful for just because we have done it, but because we have been instruments of God's love. That the love of God has been poured into our hearts, has taken root in our lives so deeply that we're able to communicate the gospel with love that touches people's lives, that changes them. That people not only see just Nicholas, but people see Christ in me. And we are thankful for who Christ has called them to be, for those who we've touched. We are thankful for the many things that God has done in their lives. So what greater joy is there than to witness the love of God bear fruit?